Hi, I'm Devin Shute, and this special video is on all you need to know from the budget speech for 2020. So there's no doubt that this year's budget speech was delivered in very tough circumstances. Weak economic growth, struggling government finances, and an ideological standoff set the scene for a very difficult budget. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni was his usual no-nonsense but relaxed self, and he delivered what will be remembered as a very brave and unexpected budget. Now, while not perfect, the Treasury showed a willingness to address the very real issues facing the economy. The big surprise in the budget was that there were no nasty surprises that were expected. Increases in VAT, capital gains tax, pay-as-you-earn, even a wealth tax was really widely expected, and in fact, there were none of those. What we did get was real tax relief for taxpayers, as the brackets will be adjusted upwards and income tax rebates increased. Predictably, sin taxes and fuel levy was hiked, but what I thought was a very progressive move, he signaled future tax cuts in the corporate space will be coming. The benign inflation environment could also augur well for interest rate cuts later this year. So the minister explained the process that we need to follow in order to get economic recovery going. Firstly, we need to consolidate spending, we need to increase productivity, and we need to fight corruption. Only once we've done this will we be able to focus on meaningfully growing the economy. Government finances, unfortunately, are not going to stabilize over the medium term, and this is still very concerning. Looking at this, the budget deficit, which is simply how much more the government spends than it earns, increased to 6.8%, and gross debt to GDP will rise to over 70% over the next 2 years. Both these figures are incredibly high for a government that has to pay such high interest rates on its debt and leaves our public finances vulnerable to external shocks. With the increasing debt burden, the government now has to spend 229 billion rand annually on financing it, roughly the same as the budget for education. Put another way, 15 cents in every rand of government spending goes to pay interest on debt. The worrying part of this is that it's the fastest growing line item in the budget and desperately needs to be reined in. On the expenditure side, which was being closely watched, the intention was announced to cut spending by approximately 261 billion rand. 160 billion of this will be coming from the public sector wage bill. But we are going to be spending an additional 60 billion to bail out SOEs like SAA and Eskom. Encouragingly, I thought, an additional 2.4 billion was allocated to the National Prosecuting Authority, and they're going to use this to hire 800 new investigators and almost 300 new prosecutors to clear the backlog of cases following the commissions like the State Capture Inquiry. So in summary, this was a budget where Finance Minister Tito Mboweni addressed the combination of corruption, incompetence, and powerful trade unions head-on, as these have caused the SA economy much damage. There was a clear commitment that these areas need to be addressed before we can move forward and actually grow the economy. There was no real mention of contentious issues like NHI and prescribed assets, with much more focus being on businesses. Now, while government debt will remain a pressing issue for some time, we have started to get a clearer picture now of the reforms government will be implementing in its plan to spur economic growth. However, to really make improvements in economic growth, government needs to move on specific growth initiatives like auctioning spectrum, reducing regulatory burden for businesses, and liberating the energy sector. Ultimately, the success of this budget will hinge on whether the spending cuts to the public sector wage bill can be agreed upon. And when Moody's assesses this budget in its ratings review next month, my sense is they will wait before downgrading to see if these reforms can be implemented. Thanks for watching.